It's 8 o'clock. Should we? What do you think? This are we good, or you want to wait for a few more people?
Yeah, I think we're good to start out. I got everything recording, so yeah, let's start it up.
Cool. All right. Thanks for attending, guys. We're going to be talking. This was going to be kind of a pull request review club, like we did a few weeks ago. Some things just we just merged them into, and now we're releasing HSD version 3. It's 3.0. It's a major release. That means it's not backwards compatible, and we'll explain kind of what that means. So you got to know that you're upgrading. It shouldn't just be like an automatic thing. And So if you've never installed HSD before, there's a couple ways to do it. If you go to handshake.org, you can click over here where it says download, and there are bundles here. These bundles are kind of interesting. I've never actually played with them before myself, before making them. They include all the JavaScript that you need. In kind of an npm list, git list sort of organization, and you can click build no matter what operating system you're on, as long as it can run shell scripts, and it'll compile the code and build it. And then once that's done, you can go into HSD bin and double click HSD, and it'll run. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That's kind of like the closest thing we have to just like downloading and double clicking to start a full node, I think, in Handshake. Otherwise, you still need to have like Node.js environment. So it's still not super easy. Bob Wallet is still a lot easier. You can also download it from GitHub if you just go to HSD page, and there's releases over here, and you can go to version 3.0. I haven't announced the release on like Twitter and Reddit yet. I'm still hoping to get some early adopters to kind of experiment with it, and I think that we found a few things already that we kind of want to change before announcing it. So we'll probably be a 3.0.1 release that fixes one or two little things. But so let's talk about it. When you're installing HSD for the first time or upgrading, changelog.md is a good place to see what's about to happen to you. And by the way, if my screen disappears, I've had trouble with screen sharing on Discord before. Somebody just drop a message or say something out loud, and I'll try to fix it. All right, so hopefully you guys are seeing the changelog page from HSD, and this is where all the important changes for version 3 are listed. And so I'm just figuring, let's go through these. If you guys have questions, we can talk about it. I can do like an overview of some of the hot topics, and then we can kind of dig into some of the minutia if you guys are interested. So the first thing to note is, well, here, let me give you some headlines first. Some of the headlines is that HSD V3 is like way faster. So I did some benchmarks here on my Ubuntu laptop running HSD version 3 over version 2.4. Was 43% faster, just huge. Like we're almost cutting the time it takes to sync a node in half. And I've also experimented embedding HSD version 3 in Bob Wallet and comparing to the master branch of Bob Wallet. And it's basically the same. On one of my Apple computers, I only got about 15% faster, Windows 20% faster, and again on Ubuntu, like almost twice as fast, which is great. Because one thing we want to keep doing is to making it easier, more convenient, faster, more comfortable for people to sync a full node, so more people want to do it. And then I think in the near future, we'll also try to compress how much disk space HSD and Bob Wallet need, and kind of address that too, just because we want to encourage people to run full nodes. So that's the biggest highlight of version 3. It's just way faster, which is great. And there's two big reasons for that. One is the let's see, the Blockstore. What are we talking about? Blockstore here. Okay, up on the top. So we used to keep all the blocks in a database called LevelDB. Now we are writing them directly to disk, which is a little bit faster, and it also gives us a recovery option if there's a certain amount of corruption. For example, LevelDB has had some corruption issues. If the database gets corrupted, you can rebuild the entire database from the blocks, which are just stored in flat files. So I can kind of show you what that looks like. If you go to your HSD directory, take a look at what's in there. the chain folder is going to be a lot smaller, and what we have now, actually, the only reason I have a chain is because I've kind of I've been messing with this stuff. But there's a blocks folder now, and in the blocks folder are these blk.dat files. This is where the block data is stored like directly on disk instead of in a database. So that gives us a big speed up. We know from Bcoin that it gives us a big speed up. Now we're brought to HSD. There's a lot of great work done by Nodar. The other thing you may notice if you're an HSD nerd, big HSD fan like me, is that the debug log, which is this file here, debug.log, is getting split up. So one thing that we changed here is the logging mechanism. And one problem that HSD had before is it would just keep adding to the same log file and basically never truncate it or prune it. So if you were a good node operator and your HSD node had been running for like 6 months, that log file could be like 300 megabytes or gigabytes or more. And actually during testnet, Sean Kilpatrick and I were running with log level spam, and our nodes got shut down because the disk filled up from the log. So that's one thing that we're doing is every 20 megabytes, HSD will save your log file, timestamp it like this, create a new log file, and it only saves the last, I think, 10 on disk. So that'll avoid these disk fill attacks that basically could happen just from the log taking up too much space. What else is cool? Signed message with name, I think you might already be familiar with because Bob Wallet added that a while ago. It's now being released in HSD. This is an interesting proof of identity kind of tool. It can allow you to log into a website using your Handshake name. One thing I like about it is that it can help you prove that your name's not on Namebase. If people wanted to say like tip you for holding your name in Bob Wallet, this is something you could do, with your own node. A couple other little odds and ends here. You can now create a wallet with a language parameter. Let's try that. Why not? Let's do HSW CLI. I'm going to make a wallet here with Handshake. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. Let's see if I just do language equals Spanish. Is that going to work? Oh, right. Let's try this. Spanish one. Okay, and then if I go HSW CLI master ID equals, what did I call it? SP1. Yeah, look at that. All right, so here I got a 24-word phrase that's in español. Actualimos un frontera típico. Se suerte ingenio. Okay, so that's fun. Let's bring some more people from other languages into the community. Bitcoin's already done this for a long time. The language support is old. It just wasn't available at the command line now. So if English is not your first language, if it's easier for you to memorize a 24-word phrase in Spanish, or I think you can also do Chinese. Let's see. Unknown language. Oh, it was like simplified Chinese or anyway. So we do mnemonic phrases in other languages. That's just kind of a simple, a nice feature. Okay, let's also talk about another thing about how it's sped up. HSD is a lot faster now because of the flat file data storage, but also in the pull request review club we had a couple weeks ago, we talked about checkpoints a lot. Let's see, it's kind of hard to tell who is here because I'm seeing a lot of funny Discord icons, but hopefully some of you were at that pull request review club and we talked about checkpoints. I'll discuss it really briefly. The idea is you pick a block that's like 6 months old. So like in Handshake, I think we picked block at height 61,000. Okay, we're up to like 85,000 now. So pick a block that is so old that it will definitely not reorg. Like the block at that height is never going to change. If we have a reorganization that unzips over 6 months of block history and rewrites 6 months of history and changes block at height 61,000, we're done. We have big problems. So we can assume that that's probably never going to happen. And so what that means is that the first 60,000 blocks in the chain, we don't really need to work that hard. We still need to download them and create the UTXO set and the Oracle tree. This is for a brand new HSD node, the first time you start up Bob Wallet on your computer, for example. With a checkpoint, what it means is that we can skip a lot of work. We still have to do some things, but we can ignore cryptographic signatures. We just assume all the signatures are valid because the block has been buried under 20,000 blocks of proof of work. So you can turn it off if you want to be paranoid, but we can assume that a lot of these things are valid. And something that I discovered that we could also do. So we had these checkpoints and we had the flat file stuff, and we were getting these small gains, but we weren't really weren't really rocking it yet. It wasn't really going super fast. We had these little gains, but there should be a lot more. That's when I realized that what we're spending a lot of time doing when we sync the blockchain is updating the Urkel tree. And for that, I also mean like for every auction, there are all these bids that we need to verify. You know, every time somebody places a bid, you got to make sure it's in the right window, that the auction is still active, all that kind of stuff. And even though these bids, they read from the Urkel tree because we need to check what state a name is in, if the auction is even happening, if it's a valid bid. But bids don't actually write to the Urkel tree. A bid does not change the state of a name. The reveal changes the state of a name. The reveal actually updates the name state. And if you're the winner, it might actually make you the winner, and we save that data to the Urkel tree. But a bid doesn't actually do anything. All a bid does is cause us to read from the Urkel tree, to check, to verify that the bid is valid. But nothing about bids actually write to the Urkel tree. That means if we're doing this checkpoints thing and we assume that these bids are all valid, we don't even need to read from the Urkel tree. We can skip it. We're not going to write to the Urkel tree, so we don't need to read from the tree. And it turns out that reading from the Urkel tree is very, very expensive. And you know, for an auction with 100 bids, that's 100 covenants that we need to read from the Urkel tree over and over and over again 100 times, depending on how spaced out the bids are. So this was a big time saver, and the code is just this simple. This is in a function called let's see, get median time. What is this function called? Oh, this is the good stuff down here. Okay, verify covenants. Someone gonna ask a question or something? We still good? Okay. Verify covenants is consensus critical. This is the function that verifies the covenants. This also makes me incredibly nervous that I'm modifying this part of the code. So I hope that everybody has a chance to look at it and review it and see if it makes sense to you. Even if this is your first time ever looking at HSD, please think about this. And this is all I'm doing. If this function is historical height, just says basically, if the block I'm validating right now is below the height of 61,000, is below the checkpoints height, then we can continue. We can skip bids and we can skip redeems. Same thing I said about bids applies to redeems. So this is it. This little 3-line thing saves us, you know, huge amount of time when we're seeking the blockchain, because we don't need to read the Urkel tree every time we see a bid on chain while we're under checkpoints. I guess that's kind of complicated. Any questions about that? Go ahead, turn on your mic or chat a message in the HSD channel. Somebody just say something. Give me an emoji or what? Anybody, just say something. Middle finger emoji. Yeah, is that cool? Yo.
Great job, Matthew.
All right, great. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. It was a very simple thing, and it was a huge savings. And you know, we added some tests, and if this was a pull request review club, we could go into the details. But I highly recommend, if you're technically inclined at all, go look at pull request 643 and take a look at what we did here. Yeah. And so once that was done, you know, then I synced HSD on all these different operating systems and was able to see that we got these really good gains. So part of that was just from skipping something that we didn't need to do. All right, so tell your friends how much faster HSD is. And by the way, the other thing I want to mention about HSD V3, which is super important, is how many different people contributed to it. I don't have that. Well, you know, I wrote it in the Discord. I could see like how many people like wrote commits and stuff. But I mean, there's funding from Impervious and the DWeb Foundation and HNS Fund, and there's commits from Namebase employees. And who else? I might be forgetting something. Purse, I think Javed was still working for Purse when he was doing this review, and plenty of other people like Fauci and Brandon Dees and Anujay. I don't know what you guys do for a living, but you managed to find some free time to review some pull requests and write some commits on your own, which is just awesome. This is a big team effort, and it's a decentralized effort, so it's great to see everybody, you know, participating. One of the other cool contributions that I wanted to show off was this the DNSSEC proofs, which were added by Buffer from Impervious. I'm going to try to do a demonstration on this because I think the way that they look is kind of cool. But in short, what this does is it makes our root zone DNSSEC more secure and more compatible with legacy DNS software like Bind and Power DNS and whatever else. So if you have a configuration where you want to use HSD just as the root zone, but use a different system for your recursive resolver instead of the one that's built into HSD, we're a lot more compatible with that. And the basis for this, let's see if I can find his pull request. It's actually a really old pull request. It took a while to finally review this and get this merged, because I had to do like all this DNS research just to kind of understand like at the level that Buffer is writing this at, to understand that this stuff makes sense. And so I knew like what I could test. And I did these tests with Bind and yeah, anyway. So the idea is this: we want to be able to prove whether or not a name in the root zone has a public key, a DNSSEC public key. And that's important because why? Let's say you're going to HTTPS Fauci, and your DNS resolver says, okay, hi root zone, Handshake root zone, I would like to know the Fauci's public key so I can verify the DNSSEC and all the DANE. And if the root server is like, oh, Fauci, yeah, he doesn't have a public key. Nope, sorry. But doesn't prove it, then like that causes a downstream effect where we assume that the Fauci domain doesn't have DNSSEC, and we just go ahead and we don't alert the user. We just assume it's an unsigned domain, which is kind of this other protocol. Sorry, I'm picking on Fauci because everybody knows that his security is great. But what we want to do from the root zone is be able to prove whether or not that public key exists. So when I say, hey, give me the public key for namebase or .mb, the root zone will say there's no DS record for this name, and I can prove it to you. And that way I know that you're not lying to me. This attack is called a downgrade attack. It's when you take a system that is normally secure and somehow trick one of the participants to downgrade to a less secure mechanism. So if I can lie to you about the existence of a public key, I might be able to trick you into downgrading to HTTP instead of HTTPS. So we could try to look at some of this stuff here. Okay, there's an AMA chat. Let's see. Does anybody leave a message? Puto Fauci. Okay, great. All right, so I hope you guys can see my screen. I'm going to try to do some demonstrations with this stuff. I have HSD 3.0 running here. Okay, this is the command I have saved. So I asked the HSD root zone for the domain name NB, the record type DS, which is the public key record type, plus DNSSEC, which means I want to see some interesting stuff. And this is what Buffer had added. So normally when something, or I should say in previous versions of HSD, when a record didn't exist, JJ wasn't sure how to how to answer that. So they did an interesting thing where they used a proof that the root zone was empty. It's kind of, I guess it's weird to think about it. They don't have to explain it so much. There was a type of non-existence proof, but it was very broad, and downstream recursive resolvers like Bind didn't like it when actually report bogus or server failure internally. But so this is what we do now. So this is actually kind of interesting. The response from the HSD root server looks like this now. NSEC is a record. That means I'm going to prove to you that something doesn't exist. The name here is NB/000. Basically, that's the name you asked for plus a null byte. And I'm not going to go into that. That's deep about how NSEC records work. If you know from like legacy DNS, the way these NSEC records normally work is you provide the next name in the root zone to prove that there's nothing in between. Anyway, forget about that for now. But what we do show is I am telling you which records we do have in the root zone. So for the name NB, we have an NS record and an RSIG, which is a signature. So actually, I can get the NB NS record. There it is, and we know it's there. And when I ask for like the DS, or actually this should work also if I ask for a TXT. Yes, no, I ask for a TXT, which doesn't exist, and the root zone is proving to me that the TXT doesn't exist by giving me a signed list of what does exist. What does exist is an NS, an RSIG, and an NSEC. While we're here, let's actually take a look at Fauci. Why not? Look at this. Look at this good stuff here. No. Let's try Simpapellis. Simpapellis. Good stuff. There's a DS record and it's signed. So no question about it. Simpapellis is a secure domain. Has a public key, and we can prove it. There's other interesting stuff in here that Buffer taught me how to do. There's a command called drill. Um, yes. Yes. So this here, I'm asking drill to show me namebase's DS key, and it says right here existence is denied by that NSEC proof that I was just talking about. And then these signatures, these DNS key signatures, come from the HSD root zone. So this is the new style of denial of existence proofs that buffers out in HSD 3.0. I'm really excited about it. Makes our DNSSEC a lot more secure. We still have some more work to do in this area. We want to add these features to HNSD, especially since fingertip is becoming so popular. But it's a good start. And there's other things we need to figure out about, like the root zone key signing key and stuff like that. All right. So yeah, there's also the 6.0 thing. That's a little deep. We turned the 6.0 off. Oh yeah, the reason I want to show this thing about hdrill is that this command wouldn't have worked with HSD version 2.4 without these proofs. This legacy kind of software doesn't want to tell the user whether or not a domain is secure because it hasn't been proven to us. Okay, so I don't know if anybody has got any questions. Oh yeah, so now we can kind of get to the top. I skipped over this when we first looked at the changelog. When upgrading to this version, you must pass these two commands, or these two options, arguments, command line parameters. These can go into a service file or into hsd.conf. If you're going to pass these on the command line, you only actually need to do this once. You can pass it additional times, but it won't matter. This migrate stuff it took a long time. It was a lot of great work by Nodar also. Because we have had so many of these data migrations since HSD launched, there were problems with the way we calculated change state. Then there was the inflation bug. And with the Blockstore coming up as a third migration, Nodar and I talked a lot about this, and we decided we needed to work out how we're going to do these data migrations in a clean way. So this actually opens the door for a lot of really good data migrations in the future, a lot of more optimizations. Things are going to be easier. You just kind of pass this flag in the beginning, and HSD will take care of it for you. So I could show you, like, in the Bob Wallet PR, this is it's still a draft, but this is the pull request to upgrade Bob Wallet to HSD version 3.0. Where is here's what I'm looking for. So this is the area of Bob Wallet where the HSD full node is actually created right here. This is where your full node lives in Bob. And so just by adding these two little options to the bottom, chain migrate 2 and wallet migrate 1, that means that when you launch Bob, it'll flash you a little message that it's migrating. I think you probably are already used to this. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes depending on your computer. And that's HSD moving from the database storage, LevelDB, putting all the blocks into the flat file system, which, as we discussed, is faster and more robust, and still works really well in Electron. So that's kind of it. I don't know what else. Do you guys have any questions about HSD version 3 or any of the pull requests that I mentioned? Were the headlines for HSD 3.0 is the faster sync, which is due to checkpoints and the block storage system. And the more secure DNSSEC. I think those are the most important improvements. Yeah, so any questions about that? I started a meme contest on Discord. We're going to let that run for another week. The reason is because I'm proud of all the work everybody's done on HSD, and I want to be able to tweet some funny shit, and you guys have some good ideas and some funny pictures and stuff. And so I'm hoping the community can give me something to promote the new release. But I'll open it up for questions or discussion or anything.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was getting this right. The DNSSEC improvement, it totally prevents downgrade attacks, or does it just lessen the chance of that happening?
Okay, that's a good question. So, and I would have to understand all the cryptography and the DNSSEC system incredibly well to guarantee you that it prevents them from happening at all, which is actually my understanding, that those downgrader attacks are gone because I either prove to you that a public key exists or not. I can prove both of those things now. I don't want to give you a 100% guarantee because I'm not that confident in my understanding. But yeah, I mean, that is my understanding. We still have these other DNSSEC problems to address in HSD, not the least of which is that like everybody has the HSD key signing key. It's a public private key. It's kind of a silly security model. So in that sense, Handshake's DNSSEC is completely broken because everybody knows the private key, which is why we have these other mechanisms in place to sort of make each individual node secure again, like each individual fingertip node. But yeah, the downgrade attack should be impossible with these proofs.
And then could you kind of explain the flat file block storage thing again? I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that right, because this is the first time me seeing anything like this. So
yeah, okay. Let me think about how best to explain this. Okay, so I guess we can look at the pull request. Maybe that's good. Let's look at it. What do we call it? Here we go. So this is a improvement that we pulled from Bcoin that Nodar, myself, and the Bcoin team worked with Braden at the time from a couple years ago. Let's see, what's this say? February 2019. And Mark Tyneway, I think, started working on this too. Yeah, okay, in June 2020. So Handshake has a dependency called LevelDB. This is a database software that I believe was written by Google, and it's a key value storage. So it's a very simple database format. It's not a relational database if you're used to like MySQL or something where you can say like, I want all the users with this balance and this many friends or whatever, and the database puts data together from different tables and give you a combined answer. Key value store just means like, I want the data for this key, and you get it. It's pretty simple. But you can also do like ranges of keys. And this is how Bcoin and HSD were storing entire blocks before. Basically, I give the database the hash of the block, and the database gives me the entire block. So these are large chunks of data coming from LevelDB, and we've had issues, especially in the Bcoin days, with LevelDB getting corrupt. And this is kind of an interesting thing about having Bcoin in our, the Bcoin experience, is because this is a node that that processes like 10, 12 years of Bitcoin data. So we can kind of see what we need to do in advance on Handshake while we're still young, when we know, another 10 years down the road, when there's 700,000 blocks in the chain, the kind of optimizations we're going to want. Okay, so LevelDB is basically great. It's better for small bits of data than big bits of data, like entire blocks. And so we still use LevelDB for some other things, like the UTXO set, for example. But what this pull request does is it puts the block data directly on disk. So we have, instead of importing LevelDB as a dependency and telling LevelDB to write these blocks to disk however LevelDB wants to do it, the code is now in HSD to write the blocks directly to disk. Let's see if I can find something interesting. Blockstore, the blockchain. This means you go a lot further down. Oh, yeah, that's all the migration stuff. Okay, here's where it starts getting interesting. It's a Blockstore. There should be a file. Oh, it's too big. Yeah, so we are writing blocks directly to disk now, and then we just keep track. We keep an index in LevelDB of which file each block is in and what position in that file each block is in. And so this means that if LevelDB gets corrupt, we can rebuild the database from the block data that's on disk. And also, because we're not going through LevelDB, we're writing directly to disk. This is also an optimization speed-wise. Things just speed up. So actually, if we look at the Bcoin PR, I think Braden had some benchmarks on it. I mean, Braden was just great at this kind of stuff. Just like everything is sped way up. And yeah, we cut the like a Bcoin just started syncing like 30% faster or something after this, which is why we were so excited to bring this to HSD. Yeah, so LevelDB sync took 36 hours to sync the chain, and then with the file Blockstore, it took 26 hours. This is Bitcoin. So it's a huge improvement, and also having the files on disk allows us to import other interesting things like the Explora API, which is what Blockstream.info uses for their Block Explorer, which is the API that the Quality Wallet asked us to have to participate in their wallet with like atomic swaps, which is cool. People, great emoji, looking good. Yeah, any other questions about HSD version 3? All right, cool. Well, I hope you guys get a chance to upgrade. And like I said, there's already been a couple of issues that we've noticed about it. I want to add one thing to make it a little easier to install in Bob. Befrance Bfrance in one of the Telegram channels said that he ran out of disk space during the migration, and I don't think HSD handled that really well, so I'd like to kind of improve that. And like I said, we might end up sneaking out a patch release 3.0.1, and that'll be the one that we actually announce. So yeah, if you get a chance to upgrade your full node or take a look at some of these pull requests and let me know how it goes, especially before we do that patch release, that'd be very helpful. Let's see. Fauci says, are you able to make releases by yourself? Great question. Yes, actually, this is the first release I've been able to do completely by myself. JJ did hold my hand for a couple of the steps. I had to reverse engineer some of his processes because he has like some custom scripts on his own computer that he uses for some things. But he was accessible to me recently, and we had a phone call about it. And so, yeah, I have permission now to push to NPM. And I've been able to push to GitHub, and now I've been able to bundle releases for Handshake.org. And I added my PGP key down here. Yeah, so on Handshake.org/download, I added a few other things that I thought might help clear up the use of these. Now that kind of I understand them better. You still need Node.js, you still need Node.js. These, you need to build before you execute, and this is where the path is to actually run. And then, like I said, I signed this release and put my PGP key here. So yeah, it's an exciting time that we can do releases without JJ's help now. It also makes me nervous because it's a lot of responsibility. One thing I'm excited about is adding more people to that list of owners as soon as possible. I think Nodar and Javed, who worked with me all through Bitcoin, understand the consensus rules and the code layout really well. I think it'd be great to get them on board if they're willing. And then we can start adding some more developers over the next year or two. But just so that there's not one central person who's the only person with access to like the most important part of the release chain, So we want to definitely spread that out.
I mean, great work, man. This is awesome.
All right. Also, everybody think about if we should do, implement a hard fork to extend the reserve names, the reserve name period another 4 years. This is an issue opened by Fauci. We've been talking about it for a long time. This would be a hard fork, but hey, maybe we want to do that. It could be simple. We could make it more complicated. I'm trying to inspire people to come up with some more creative things we can do. If we're going to hard fork, we have basically a clean slate. You can do whatever we want. I'm starting to see some interesting ideas come out about what we could do to the different types of names, like the ICANN TLDs versus the Alexa 100,000. I think if we're going to do this hard fork, the sooner we do it, the better. And whatever would help to maybe get these ICANN TLD owners on board with Handshake if they need more time. I think that's cool. I happen to know that JJ is in favor of this hard fork. If that means anything to anybody, we talked about that. So yeah, give this is issue number 645. Give this a look and think about it, and leave a comment.
Hey, JJ. I like how JJ thinks.
Mm.
Hey, thanks for doing the update today, and I'm glad I caught it. If you are in under the hood on this, it's probably good. I mean, there's mixed feelings on this with some of the TLD operators inside of the ICANN world, and I'll tell you that if you do extend the date for at least for the ICANN side of things, keeping it harmonized with extending the Alexa claim list is good. There's a few that there were a few that ended up on the Alexa list that should have been on the ICANN list and vice versa. I don't know if there's a way to move those over. And then there's also, on the good news category side of things, there have been some strings that have been released since. Like when JJ did the Bootstrap, back in the original times, you can see that he had done a cutover, and there were a few that had dropped their applications or have decided to give up their contracts. So there may be some good ones that may have been made available in the process. Anyway,
Right.
the deadline thing kind of creates a bias for action. Like people are more likely to not do something if they don't feel there's a deadline. So it's kind of a mixed bag on doing that.
Yeah, these are all really good points, Jonathan. I hope you have time to leave a comment with all this stuff. It's really important
Okay.
to have your knowledge on there. And yeah, you're totally right. I know you in particular. We've discussed names that should have been on the list or should be in a different place on the list. We are now talking about a hard fork. So this is Jonathan's moment. Let's hear those names, where they should go. Things like .music.
That's a tough one, right? Because that's like there's .spa, there's .music. There's a few that I don't know. Do you try to bottle that
Yeah.
fart, or do you?
I think that fart is out of the butthole, my friend. That fart
Right.
is out.
So there are some things you can't unfart, and some things that you can at least reclassify because they're in the stable, just the wrong pen, right? So if they haven't been claimed, you can move them. But yeah. Anyway, I think that there's. I'll put these comments into this is 6:45. Okay, so I'll just add that into the comments there to.
Thanks. Great.
Yeah, and thanks for your hard work on this. Seriously, I mean, I've just been so impressed, and I've been quiet, but high praise, high regards for these code reviews and all the hard work that's going on. So thanks.
Sure. Thanks. All right. Yeah. And thanks for being a good community member and all your contributions too. And everybody. Cheers to everybody.
Well, I had mentioned this in the chat. So there's an actual ICANN meeting coming up. Although it will be a virtual meeting, it's coming up in the week after next. They have a segment which is where you can come in and take the public mic, called the public forum. Somebody's given about 2 minutes to take the mic and talk about whatever. Sometimes folks can come in and talk about it. I think inside that community, there are probably individuals who attended the session that you and Boyman did in Montreal at the last live meeting, who are aware of the claim purse and the ability to come and claim names. I'm a poor candidate for this, but I would help another candidate who would want to step as tribute to perhaps take the public mic, present at the public forum, because what happens there is it's got the board of directors listening, it's got all of the leadership listening, the community listening, and it gets transcribed and it gets put into their public record. So it would really remove the ability for someone to say, oh, I didn't know about that, and put it a bit more prominent. I mean, yes, we're out tweeting, we're out shaking the bushes and proclaiming from the rooftops about all of this, but that really, really makes it hard to ignore, put your head in the sand, which I think some folks do. And to the ICANN world, there's a lot going on. They've got all kinds of crap they're dealing with, including this new legislation called NIS2 over in Europe, which I encourage you all to look at, because it's man, I swear the EC must make their policy in their agricultural division or something on technology. It's really bad. It like makes you take and keep logs in any kind of router you maintain or any kind of DNS resolver. And that's really scary. And it might touch this project, though it is slippery to make work. But it's called NIS2 and it's coming out of the European Commission. So it's worth a peek at if you haven't seen it.
Okay, I'm making a note.
Yeah, NIS2. Anyway, if anybody's interested in that, PM me. I'm on the Discord. I'm in the Telegram, and I'd be glad to help someone. I am both a bug and feature on this, but it would disrupt some other activity I'm doing. And if we've got somebody who can maybe more corporate-y kind of environment person could come up, that would really help the project, I think.
Jonathan, you should just give a presentation using an anonymous handle and a vocoder, and then no one will know that it's you, and it won't.
Hey, don't hate on Fist, man. That was a great session, and no shade due to Fist on that. I totally understand. It's just
how are you? How are you sure he's not doing that right now?
That's right. Yeah, I'm actually a 6-year-old girl. Totally kidding. Anyway, we've done a great job though here, inside of this. So, wow.
Yeah, I'll make sure to spread that around. Make sure it's well known to the community that opportunity is available, because that's pretty huge. That'll give us some big recognition for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just maybe not you and maybe not me. Like, but I heard Richard Kirkendall might be possible. Tom Barrett from Encirca. People who are known inside the ICANN. But I don't mean to co-opt this. We just haven't talked in a while. So, but anyway, reach out to me. Thank you, and keep kicking ass, Matt. This is really good. Everybody's doing really good. Fauci, everybody, really impressed. Thanks, bye.
See you, Jonathan.
All right.
And
Okay, Fist, do you want to wrap it up?
Actually, really quick, I wanted to mention this too. If you go to the Web3 channel, if you guys have a chance, just read over about doing an IBC with the Cosmos ecosystem. I just think it'll be really beneficial for us, and I can go and do some more research into this and go talk to the Cosmos team and figure out any questions or concerns that people may have about this, but I really do think it'll be quite beneficial. So just, if you have the time, give that message a read over and let me know what you think. But yeah, I mean, if nobody else has anything else, then I think we can wrap this up. It was a really good session. Thank you guys for all showing up to this, and I'll be posting this later on for anybody that missed it as well.
Where can I read that about something to do with Cosmos?
Oh yeah, it's in the Web3 Dev chat. Yeah, Web3 Dev. It'll be that big fucking post right there. The big column.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Well,
All right. Thanks for your time
yeah.
and contributions, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for showing it up and showing us through HSD V3. I hope everybody that sees this will go and contribute, go review the code and everything. But yeah, guys, have a good rest of your day or night, wherever you are.